All right. So, welcome to the VIP lounge. How lovely is this? I get about 30 minutes to give you as much content as humanly possible. Two things very quickly. Number one, I like to speak quickly. If that challenges you, you're just going to have to learn faster, right? Okay, number one. Number two is you might want to have your phones handy because I'm going to flick through slides really quickly, and some you're going to want to grab screenshots of, and then I'm going to tell you how you can get all of them afterwards, plus a free training. Who's heard of Piers Linney, former Dragon? Yes? The iPad, all about how AI is going to change the world. If you want access to that, I'll tell you how to get it at the end of it. But this is a team game for the next half an hour, because I have about 40 slides, 30 minutes, and a lot to share. Everyone up for that? Say yes? Yes. Cool. How many of you in the room, by show of hands, at some point, those who own a business, would at some point like to sell it and potentially take a large amount of cash off the table? Who'd actually like to do that? Right, fine. I'm going to give you a quick bit of my bio very, very fast, right? So I've been running business retreats for over a decade. I'm CEO of ScaleUpCoaching.com and TeamDynamics.com. TeamDynamics.com obviously sponsoring this event. I'm LinkedIn top voice. Helped 750 clients to hit over $1 million in sales. And in the last 4 years, we've done over £100 million worth of exits, including 2 just before the budget. Yes. Result, right? 10 o'clock at night was the late. 10 past 10 the last night before the budget was the last one we got out, right? So, a good day. Saved about 380 grand by doing it that day. So here's the deal, right? My job is to help people scale, create value. Create what? Value, right? Because if you want to sell at some point, there has to be value. Single biggest reason why businesses don't sell in the UK and the US, doesn't matter which, it's only 18, by the way, only 18% of entrepreneurs who put their businesses up for sale ever actually sell. Regardless of what the brokers tell you. 18. Now here's the really scary, interesting stat. That most people trying to sell a business, they're selling it because they're either tired, or they've just run out, or they've reached retirement age and they're trying to sell it without realizing they spent years not creating value. They just made money. And there's a big difference between the two. The biggest single reason why most businesses don't sell is because they don't put a team in place to run the business without you. How many of you want to make money and take more time off? Say yes? Cool. What about the rest of you? Just like you're enjoying working hard, right? Fair enough. All right, so here's the thing. Look, at some point you want to be able to exit, take the money off the table, and then go do it again, or buy property, or do whatever you want to do, right? My belief is scale a business, make a ton of money, take the money, buy a ton of property. Easier to do it that way, right? Because property is a capital-intensive business. So that's what I've been doing now for over 20 years, and I figured out that there's a code to doing it. Quick bit about me, very quickly. This is my wonderful wife, Sue, over in the corner. She's amazing. We've been married for over 20 years. It's my son, Jonathan, and I do have a passion for 2 things, cars and the color purple. If you want to know why color purple, come find me afterwards. I have been an entrepreneur pretty much since I was 26 years old when I started, raised £5 million, and then built a £15 million company in 3 years and sold it with 3 other people. And then I managed to lose all that money by the time I was 31. Which is a good learning experience, right? So now I help people avoid all those mistakes, and I am fundamentally a coach. Look, and there's some amazing people speaking on stage here, right? I'm going to be honest with you, right? I'm in a £1 million plus business in the UK coaching entrepreneurs, but I'm a coach. I'm really, really good at helping you get the 10% out of you that you know you have, but you can't get. Because we've all got it, true? Turn to the person next to you and say, I've got it. Right? Cool. That's my job, right? My job is to help high-performing entrepreneurs build 7- and 8-figure businesses and sell for millions. That's what I do for a living, and I'm blessed to do it. So I do that with retreats, one-to-one coaching programs, masterminds, and live events. That was me on stage a couple of years ago with Gerald Ratner. Anybody seen or heard Gerald Ratner speak? Funny, he's a comedian, he's hilarious. Right, look, here's the journey, here's the shift, here's the way I want you to change how you think, right? Most people are running a business and they think they own it, but they're actually an operator. Because they're still in the box doing lots of the day-to-day. Anybody relate to that? So if I'm not here, this doesn't happen. And that's usually because nobody taught them to build a team. And by the way, 10 years ago, I did exactly this. I was completely stuck in the operator box. I was running my businesses. In fact, I had 3 businesses at the time. I sold 2 businesses in the last 12 months. I've sold 2 businesses of my own. Why? Because I realized I wanted to get out of everything that was a distraction. The biggest lie, and this might be controversial, but I'm going to say it now, the biggest lie that we've all been told is that you should have multiple streams of income. Right? You shouldn't, at first. You should later, when you've cracked one and got a massive flow of income that you can diversify with, and then get multiple streams. That's my belief, and that was my experience. I diversified too early, and it cost me a lot of money, about $500,000 a year, I reckon. Anyway, my job is to help you get out of operator mindset and think like an owner, and then think like an investor. Here's the thing. How many of you are the single biggest shareholder in your current business? Show of hands? Wow, yeah, most entrepreneurs have most of their net worth tied up in the value of their business. Quick question, and this is for you, don't answer it. When did you last get it valued? Never. Perhaps a good opportunity between now and the end of the year to get someone in to properly value your business and find out how much it's worth. Why? Because otherwise it's like having a property, walking around and going, at some point I'll sell it for 200,000 or 400,000 or £1 million, but you have no idea what it's really worth right now in the market. Wouldn't it be useful if you want to sell for 7 figures to know what it's worth today and realize how big the gap is? Absolutely. First thing we do with all the clients we work with is get them valued. Why? I want to know where you are now, so where do you want to exit for, how big's the gap, or how small is the gap we got to close. Right? So that's my goal, right? By the way, scan this. If you like stuff I talk about here, I have a podcast called the Grown Up Business Podcast, where I interview people who've scaled and sold businesses. All right, that's kind of what I do. Talk to some amazing people who've scaled and sold businesses. If you want more of what I talk about, go grab that. Cool. Okay, so here's my framework, right? I talk about building a grown-up business. Here's what a grown-up business is. A grown-up business is one that will run and scale without you being there. That's what a grown-up business is, right? Too many of us are not running a grown-up business, i.e. it won't scale without you. The 2 best things you can do is start to harness the power of tech and team. So first of all, you have to level up as a leader. You are responsible for you. Your vision is holding your business back, right? The reason you're not making, if you're not making £1 million a year, and you're making, let's say, 250,000 a year right now, the cost of not knowing what you should know and should be doing is 750,000 a year. Because you don't know what you should be doing at the next level, or you don't have the skills or the network. There's only 3 things between you and the income you want to be earning. The skills you don't have, the knowledge you need, and the network you aren't accessing. That's it. But you've got to figure out what you don't know. So, level up, team up. Why do you need to team up? Because you can't build a business on your own, period. Right? Now, with tech, we're getting to the stage, super exciting, where you're probably going to be able to build a £10 million business with 4 people. Right? We're starting to move away from the model you have to have big teams. Now, it depends on the model you're running, but we're heading that way. All right? And then finally, you scale sales. There's no point scaling sales until you've sorted out the team. So today, I'm just going to focus on the team stuff. By the way, how many would like to know what it looks like when you sell a business for 7 figures? Who'd like to know? It looks like this. These 3 between them took 15 million off the table. Right? They look quite happy because they don't have to work again and they don't have to worry again. That's what I want for everyone in this room. My goal is to help you take enough money off the table that you're financially done for life. Then you can go and play the game without the worry about what if it doesn't work out. Because my experience, all of these guys, 2 of them are already back in the game. Because they're like, oh, I want to go again. So, look, have you ever thought to yourself when you're talking to somebody, maybe at a networking event, maybe you're looking for a partner, maybe you're looking for an investor, and you're like, I wish I knew what they thought. Or you've got people who work for you and you go, they're weird. Why do they do that? Anybody got people like that? So like, wouldn't it be really useful if you could see inside people's heads and understand what makes them tick, what motivates them and how they function, and who you need around you? You see, 10 years ago, doing it all the wrong way, I nearly died. So my wife was seeing this. She was in the room, had a serious cardiac arrest. I was 42 years old. Done it all wrong. Tried to be the hero, ego, all about me. Right? I was the hero, self-made man, all that BS we get told, right? It's not about that. The heart attack, 4.5 minutes, dead on the bathroom floor. Not a glamorous place to go out, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you that, right? I went white, then I went blue, and then Sue saw me go purple, which is the last color you go before you die. It's good to know I was on brand, at least, right? So, like, if I was going to die, at least I was on brand, right? So, 4.5 minutes. So I realized I was doing it all wrong, and I needed to figure out what was the stuff I didn't know, and it turns out I really didn't understand team building. Here's the thing. Most businesses are still not harnessing the power of the people in them, and I'll show you that in a minute. Right? How many of you have ever seen a sports event where you're wowed by the team, or the guy who wins an award or a goal or something like that, right? They win a gold medal or something, and we go, that's amazing, right? How do they do that? And the reason we're amazed by it is because it's hard to do, because no one's ever given you a playbook. But the thing is, the military have cracked it, so have sports cracked it. Okay, they know how to do this, but we never took the time to go and learn. So I took 4 years to go and study this stuff. Here's one of the things. Who's heard of Seth Godin? Great marketer. He said, listen, seek a compass, not a map. And he's totally right. So I bought a product to the UK called Contribution Compass, which helps me understand entrepreneurs, and I can tell them exactly who they need on their team so they hire the right people, because hiring the wrong people is expensive. All right, and we've done over 1,000 profiles a year for the last 5 years, won numerous awards doing it. But look, the point I'm sharing is this. You need to understand who's on your team currently to understand if you've even got the right people to go the distance. Some of you in this room have great people on your team. Some of you are going to need to release with love certain people and bring in new people because they're not going to take you where you want to go. But you haven't had a framework or a formula for doing it. What we're trying to do is create a balanced team. Now, it depends on the business you're building, right? Property businesses require different skill sets, but at different levels, you're going to need different people on the team with different skills. Startups need different stuff, right? So look, this is the real cost. Think about this. In productivity, how much is it costing businesses in the UK right now with people? So let's start with this. What did the government just do to make it more expensive to hire people? Yes. I've had 2 meetings in the last week where the clients I'm coaching, we looked at the budgets for next year. We're going to have to pay another £100,000 in NI. 100 grand to keep the same team. Like, they've just really, look, I'm not getting political, but that's made it mean that you have to get way more productivity out of the existing people you've got. True or true? True, right? Okay, so that's one. That's become more expensive. Number 2, cost of recruitment. The average cost of recruitment in the UK is at least 1 year's salary, and if they don't work out inside 90 days, it's up to twice the salary you were paying that person. Right? Well, by the time you factor in fees, lost productivity, disruption, your time, recruitment is a massively expensive thing if you've not got retention. Third, low engagement. This will blow your mind. This is a study done by Gallup. Only 23% of the global workforce is currently logging themselves down as engaged. 23. Think about how many people work around you. 62 are not engaged, and 15% are actively disengaged. Actively disengaged. There are people you are paying who are sitting in your business who are not engaged in what you're trying to do, and you're still paying them. Like, that's an opportunity in my book, right? Think about what you write as out as, like, for most businesses, the biggest single expense is people. Right? It is. And yet most of us don't get the return on it we should. Okay, so look, obviously I'm going to talk about tech as well. So at the end of this presentation, if you guys will stay with me, I'll give you the 8 websites and tools that can save you 100 hours in 10 minutes. Does that sound good? Say yes? Because here's the thing. We're at a really interesting juncture between understanding how to finally work with people and understanding and giving them tech that will blow up their productivity. Like, max it the hell out. What the government just did in the budget is they just fired a starting gun. Every single person in this room, if you aren't embracing AI and Teams in the next 12 months, you're going to lose to companies around you that do. Fact. Right? Because AI is getting better every week, every day, every hour, and if your people around you don't harness it, you're going to lose out to the competition that does. So it's like, this is the biggest opportunity. Now, I was fortunate to be around during the dot-com boom. This is way bigger than that. Way bigger. Like 10 times bigger than that. There are going to be people in this room who harness this kind of technology and go on and build £100 million businesses. Because they suddenly went, it's not about me, it's about we. I've just got to get the right people in the right boxes and give them the right tech and then get the hell out of the way. This is the biggest opportunity you're ever going to have. I promise you this, and most people aren't paying attention to it. They're just not. Talk to most people, they go, AI, it's going to be a threat. It's not. It's going to be the biggest productivity boost if we get our head around it. Who's with me? Say yes? Cool. All right, cool. So here's what, this is from KPMG, data from KPMG, the big accountants. If you get an engaged team, 17% greater profitability, productivity goes up by 300%, sickness goes down 30%, retention goes up 87%, and business growth goes up 18%. In the current market, is that pretty good to get that as a result? Yes. By the way, do you have to spend any money on recruiting people? No. What have you got to do? Train them? Train them a bit? Start learning how to function with them? I had breakfast with a £17 million CEO on Friday morning, and he said to me, Paul, we want to go from 17 to 25. What's the biggest thing we should do first? I said, first thing is you've got to understand all the people you've got on your team, because you can't go anywhere unless you understand who's on the bus. Step one. You've got to understand who's on the bus, right? Because you might have great talent, but they're in the wrong role. Happens a lot. Imagine if we had an amazing centre forward and we stuck them in goal. We'd be sacked, right? But yet we do that because we don't have the tools to understand it. So this is the tool that I use called Contribution Compass, and it's based on the I Ching and the 4 different energies that build the world. Right, there are 8 profiles. There's 96 data points. It's the most accurate profiling tool out there in terms of, and it's built specifically to build teams. It's not built for any other reason. It's not built to sell you a product. Okay, it's built to help you build teams, period. That's its job. So here's the 5 things you need to build a high-performing team. I'll give you these for free. How many? Let's try that again. How many? 5, right? I'm about to give you the 5 biggest secrets. It took me 4 years of research to figure it out. So, like, do you want it? Yes or no? Okay, cool, great. Because listen, I'm telling you now as a leader, your energy is the number 1 currency you have. If you rock up in your business and you're like, morning, not going to attract talent. Right? This is where you have to level up first. You have to become a better leader first before you attract better people. Because unless you're a better leader, you won't attract better people, period. So we have to level your thinking up first. Number 1, trust. Trust is the number 1 currency in a team. If you don't trust the people you work with, you're not going to ask them to help you. You're not going to be transparent with them. You're not going to say when you're struggling. Trust is the number 1 currency, right? Navy SEALs judge each other by the ability on 2 things. Would I trust this man with my wife, and would I trust this man with my life? That's their quote, right? If they would, it doesn't matter whether you're the best shot, I trust you. So that's the most important currency in a firefight. Bear in mind, by the way, to put a Navy SEAL into a combat, the Americans spend $2.5 million training them. How much do we spend training people? A day, if you're lucky. Most people's onboarding lasts an hour, right? Here's your desk, here's your laptop, crack on. Like, makes no sense, right? Number 2, you've got to empower people. Here's a really simple hack. Figure out how much you're happy for them to spend without asking you, and they'll solve way more problems. My team has a limit. They're completely empowered to spend money to solve a problem or wow a customer. 500 quid, I think the current limit is, Beck, something like that. Don't have to ask me, just do it, right? Because it's not worth me engaging with them. I trust them enough and they're empowered to solve the problem. They can normally do it for a hell of a lot less than that. If it requires more than that, we've got to ask the question, why are we doing that? What's going on, right? But give your team a limit they can spend without talking to you, and they'll remove a load of friction. And it's normally less than you think. Next up, alignment. This is critical, right? Most people are not aligned. I went round this CEO's office, and I just talked to 3 or 4 people. And I said, what's the biggest single goal this business has next year? And they sort of looked at me like, grow? It's like, well, yeah, actually the goal was 25 million, but they didn't know. He knew, but they didn't. The most important thing you can do is get your team all on one page. Otherwise, you have people pulling in different directions, and most people are not aligned around what the core goals and the core values are. Your values are the critical part of any team. If you are not aligned around values, it will not work. It will fall apart at some point, right? Always. Hire for values, train for skill. Next, you got to measure. Here's the biggest challenge I see in a lot of businesses. We don't like measuring. If you say to people KPIs, most people have a mild heart attack, right? They normally go, oh, God, you're going to measure everything I do. So that we can help you get better. The challenge is that business uses metrics to beat people up. That's what it's done historically. Sport uses metrics to help you get better. How many of you seen on sport the stuff they track now, yes? Anyone seen it? And they're all wearing those like vests. They track how much they move, breathe, sleep, what they eat, right? Barry deals with F1 teams for fitness. They measure like everything, literally everything. But they do it with the frame that I'm trying to get better. Business still has a metric measurement in their mind that I'm measuring stuff so that I can catch you out. It's like we have to change that. We have to get people to embrace the fact that measurement is their friend, that it helps them improve. It helps us know where you're better. Give you an example. 3 months ago, I started working with a recruitment company in London, 5 million turnover, something like that. We're going for 7. I said, what do you measure every week? They said, oh, how many candidates we place. I went, well, that's a lagging indicator, not a leading indicator. I said, let's go back. What's the leading indicators? We worked out its number of interviews the team book a week. We worked out it was 50. They needed to hit a minimum of 50. We've got a massive plasma screen in the office that's pulling the data from the system, tracking everybody's numbers across the week with red, amber, green. If you're below the key number, you're red until you hit amber and hit green. Guess what happened in October? October, we hit 50 every week for 4 weeks. They had their best month in 7 years of trading. Took 90 days. Most of you are 90 days away from your best month ever if you do the right things. You're 90 days away from it. You just don't know that you're so in the operator space, you're not stepping back and going, hang on a minute, what are the 3 or 4 things we need to measure that would move the needle? Most people aren't measuring enough. Turn to the person next to you and say, I'm not measuring enough. Right? If they agreed with you, that was a good sign, right? Okay. Finally, there was a piece of research done by Google, and when they analysed teams inside Google and what was the difference between the teams that made the biggest impact and the biggest difference, and there was one thing that they found made the biggest single difference, and it was teams that felt they had support from the leadership and they were in a supportive and safe environment. If you create what's called psychological safety, people will share way more with you, all right? And part of that is about being vulnerable as a leader. Part of that is about saying, I'm struggling with this. Part of that is about saying, you know what, we got this challenge to deal with, right? Leadership is not about having all the answers. Leadership is about asking all the questions. It's about asking all the questions. Your team probably know how to fix most of the issues you've got in the business. You just haven't asked them. And they don't feel safe enough to tell you, right? When we do team day workshops and you create a safe environment, the stuff that comes out blows people's mind. They're like, why didn't you tell me that before? I didn't think you'd be okay hearing it. So you have to create psychological safety. So that's the framework, right? If you work on those 5 things, you will have a more successful team. But let me show you a couple of tools. So this is what it looks like inside the contribution compass. This is the kind of output you get. So I said there are 4 types of energy. Activating, which is all your fast movers, fast thinkers. These are the people who start everything, finish nothing. Anybody like that in the room? Yep. Biggest risk for you is distraction. Yeah, you can't finish something, so you never monetize it properly because you get distracted, yes? Oh, I've got another great idea. Doesn't mean it's a good idea. You can have an idea, but it doesn't mean we should execute on it, right? So they have lots of ideas. Not all of them are good, and we need to have a team around who evaluates them. But this is 3 people with similar activating energies, but very different experience of working with them. For example, this person has 14% refining energy, which is the detail and attention to detail. If you were managing that person and you didn't know that, you would be frustrated that they never complete things, their attention to detail is terrible, and they never fill in their expense forms. And you'd be, why don't they just do what I tell them, right? Well, they can't. They find that really hard. So what I'm trying to bring to the table for every entrepreneur I talk to is a set of tools and data. How many of you believe that data is going to be the most important thing in the next 5 years, right? But there's not data on people, not in the way that we're building it. 1,000 profiles, I can start to tell you exactly what kind of role needs what kind of person. Salesperson, new business or existing, 2 very different profiles. General manager, what's your profile? Tell you exactly who you need as your GM. Finance director, tell you exactly who you need. Getting to the stage now where the data is so good, we can really start to tell you whether someone's a good fit or not. Just to give you an example, if you are a catalyst, these are the 2 people you need around you first. You need a coach and a cultivator, okay? Because between the 3 of you, you can all cover all 4 energies. So as you start to understand that everybody in here will build a different team based on your profile. Right? Richard Branson builds different teams to Elon Musk or to Warren Buffett, right? Everyone builds a different team, but we start with you. Got to understand how you function. Here's a client of mine, we did this with him, e-commerce business. This is so cool. Sells glue to make goalkeepers' gloves more sticky. Right? And you laughed. I thought, is that a real business? Turns out it was. 500K, first year by getting the right team around him and understanding his leadership, we got it to 1.4 million, well, just over a million. So year 2, we did 2.4 million. We're on track to do 3 million this year. So it's 500K to 3 million in 2 years. And, by the way, he brought in amazing social media people. He's got over 1 million followers on YouTube and TikTok alone. Great. Not him, team built that. Right? So here's the difference. So next up, you've got the people who are great with people. If you have a business that is heavily people-orientated, you need a lot of this kind of yellow energy, this inspiring energy, because they're the ones that love people, right? They're the people who come to events like this. They're the ones that also talk a lot in the office. These are the people who really struggled during COVID because they had to work from home. They found that really, really hard because they were on their own, right? So they want to be around people. So these are great if you've got customer-facing relationships or things where you do events. Here's an example. If you happen to be a leader who's a coach, you're going to need a custodian and a calibrator on your team. They're the first 2 people you're going to need to hire or find in your existing team. Why? Because they have all the skills and values and energy that you don't, right? So they have all the stuff. By the way, stress. When I ended up nearly dying, my profile was getting pulled from here to here for nearly 3 years, building a business that was completely wrong for my profile. That's what nearly killed me. I was out of flow for 3 years, and it literally nearly killed me, right? If you're not growing fast enough in your business right now, it's probably because you're not doing the things that you're really designed to do most of the time that would blow the business up, and you're getting sucked into stuff that means you don't enjoy your business as much as you did when you started it. Anybody relate to that? Because it's true for too many people, right? So this is a great coach profile. This is Tom Wolfenden. Came to me, we profiled him, helped him build a brand new sales team. So he's gone from 1.5 to 3 million. He's just bought a £2 million business. He's at 5 million now, and he did that in 4 years, because it was just before COVID. So down the bottom, you have what's called the sustaining energy. These are all the people who like safety, security. They want to go nice and slow. They need lots of plans, and they're genuinely attracted to businesses that are not fast moving. They're also fiercely loyal. These kind of people are brilliant to look after your customers. They're fiercely loyal, and they get stressed out by too much change. So at the moment in the world, these people are struggling because there's just so much change going on. They're genuinely finding it stressful, but they won't tell you that, right? So, like for example, here, if this person was on your team and you didn't understand their activating energy was 9, you'd think, I don't understand. Why are they just not proactive? Well, they're not proactive because people with that level of activating energy prefer to respond to stuff rather than be proactive. So, like, you might be getting frustrated with them because you put them in a role where they need to be proactive and their profile doesn't do it. So the ability to shift people very quickly from being something that frustrates you to a value creator is really key. How many get this, yeah? So like suddenly you can move people, and by moving some people like 2 or 3% into a different role, they love it, they get better, they get you better results, and you're like, wow, that was amazing. It didn't cost me anything to do it. I just needed to redesign the role around the person that I had. Okay, so if you're an entrepreneur and you're down here, you're a custodian maybe, you need conductors and you need champions. Why? Because champions will go out and sell your business and build your brand. You'll run the back office and the custodians will make sure you make the money, right? Also the conductors will make sure you make the money. This is Sarah, she's that profile, she's a custodian profile in the care sector. I was talking to a gentleman in the care sector. This business, when we started coaching her in one of my coaching programs, grew by 75% in about 3 or 6 months. She's just won 2 massive awards. She now employs, 60 people, I think, Beck, something like that. So yeah, but again, this is about getting the right people in the right jobs. Finally, this is interesting because a lot of this energy gets attracted to property businesses because it's all about numbers and data. By the way, how many of you want to work with an investor to scale your property business? Just out of interest. How many think it would be really useful for you to understand the profile of the investor before you actually took the money? Hell yeah. Why would you ever want to take money off somebody until you knew their profile? Because otherwise you wouldn't understand the relationship you're about to be in. So that's kind of cool. If you happen to be that profile, you're going to need catalysts and connectors on your team to go out and do stuff because generally they'll go out and build the business, find the deals, build the network, and you can work on the maths and the numbers and the financing in the background, right? So give you an example. Here's a gentleman called Warren, worked with me for 3 years. We took his business from 3.2 million to 10 million in 3 years. And the only way we did that was changing his leadership team, which was completely wrong. So we literally had to rebuild his entire leadership team because he didn't have the right people in the right seats. But was it worth it? 10 million. This year he'll probably go for 15. I should think. He's in construction. So yeah, I'd say it was worth it. Okay, this just to wrap up, this is my favorite piece to share with you. Wouldn't it be cool if you could see all of your people in one graph on one piece of data so you could understand them all in one go? Well, now you can. We've just built this piece of software that does this, so we can look at all of your team in one place and show you exactly who's got strengths in which areas, who should be in which role, who's going to get on with who, and why they don't. So, which is pretty, who employs more than like 5 people, just out of interest? How many of you would like to know all the people sitting in your office? It's like, I showed this to the CEO on Friday, and he was like, I need to know who's in my office, right? So there's a question, what energy are you missing on your team? So that's to go away. Inside the, what are they? Black bags, there is a free report. You'll see this report is inside there for you, right? It's my free ebook that covers all of this in a lot more detail. You can have it with my gifts. Go away and enjoy that. And if you scan this very quickly, if you grab your phone and scan this very quickly, this will take you to a page where you can not only get a digital copy of it, but you can also go through and watch a 35-minute training, I think, of me going into this in way more depth than I have done here. You can have that for completely free, right? It doesn't cost you anything. You can do that, and if you want to buy a profile after that, there's a discount code on the page or something like that. So either way, I just want to give you a ton of value today so you walk out of here going, I've learned about myself and I've learned about the people I work with a bit more. Is that good? Cool. All right, who wants to play some AI fun? Ready? Who's up for AIs? Yes? Cool. All right, great. So The challenge with this is there are so many tools at the minute, so I'm just going to give you a few. Get your camera out because we've got 2 minutes, and I'm going to give you these really quickly, right? So, who hates building presentations? This is brilliant. This will build you any PowerPoint deck in about 5 minutes. You just go in and say, I want to build this, and then it'll show you how to do it. And it'll tell you what it says. Tell me the colors, tell me this. It'll create you custom graphics. So suddenly you don't have to waste hours building PowerPoint slides. It'll do it all for scratch. That's one. Who wants to use software to write articles? Software, there's now tons of stuff like this out there, but this one's pretty good that will write you up to 1,000 articles in hours. So that if you want to use SEO, by the way, if you run an SEO agency, be really worried because like this stuff's going to make SEO agencies pretty much redundant inside 12 months. With the way it's going, it just is, right? So there's that one. If you want to build a website and use a piece of AI, this one will build you a website in 3 minutes or less. If you're a web design business, you should be worried, right? And I'm not saying that to scare them. I'm just saying like this stuff, once it goes mainstream, will disrupt so many industries because you'll just go. I mean, we've worked with a graphic designer for about 5 years. I let him go a couple of months ago because we just don't need him anymore. Or some of the AI tools that we use now just does all of our graphics for us. Just like because we've got so much that we can upload and train it on, it just does it all. Here's one. Who's used Claude? Who's used Claude? So most people use ChatGPT. Claude's brilliant, by the way. Look, for example, here's a question. Could you please build me a marketing calendar and show me how I should market my products? It'll build your entire calendar. Claude is brilliant for research. How many of you want to do research and find things that are hard to find? Claude's brilliant for that. So I just had a client of mine, by the way. Anyone do tenders or anything like that? Local government tenders? Or anything like, do you do tenders? So I had a client of mine who used to have 3 people do tenders, who now has 1 person who does it in 4 hours using Claude. And everything's written in Claude. The tender's uploaded to Claude. Claude writes the answers. Like, mind-blowing, right? So like suddenly this is the whole thing of you're not going to lose your job or your business to AI, but you are going to lose it to businesses that are using it, right? And by the way, the AI learns. So like when every time he uploads another one, it gets better and better and better. Here's one. This is a really good piece of software. Use whale.io. This is really cool. If you want to build a SOP, standard operating procedures for your business, this is really cool. So you go in, you start using this. You can screenshot, so for example, screenshot and record everything you do in a standard operating procedure. Like, how do I search for property? Do that. It will then write the process. It will then take your video and cut it down. It will then transcribe it, and it will also do you questions that you can get your team to answer to make sure they understand it. So, by the way, when you come to sell your business, if you have a really good SOP manual, are you more valuable, yes or no? Hell yes. By the way, when I spoke to one of the guys who sells businesses who works with us, he reckons that if you put this in your business, you will get an extra 500,000 minimum to the price of your business by having this. 500K to build this out, and it'll probably take you maybe a couple of months. Then you can delegate everything you hate doing, go just follow the system. Right? So that's cool. Here's another one. This is good. Trainial. This is good for building an online training portal. If you want to get a training portal up and running to either train your team or train people you sell courses to, if you do stuff like that, it's quite cool. This is good. So I know there's nothing there, but it'll good because it's a video. But it's called Hey Gen. This is really cool because you can create and translate videos. So, for example, if you've got videos that are working on YouTube and you want to translate them into Spanish or into other countries, you can do all of that, and this will translate the whole lot. So I've got a client of mine who's currently taking his courses in English and translating them into 7 languages. That's doing all of it. So they'll be out in Portuguese, Spanish, Mandarin, a couple of others by Christmas. Right, bigger market share. This is amazing. This piece of tech had my wife in tears, in a good way, just to be clear, right? Because she has a brain condition called aphasia. Sometimes it's very hard for her to articulate what she's trying to say, and typing is quite challenging to try and do that because of the brain injury. Well, what you do with this is you install this on your Mac or your PC, you press one button, you talk to the computer, it will translate it, learn your voice, learn your language, and then send your emails. And then once it learns how you respond to emails, it will read your emails and pick past ones and say, do you want me to just send this one? Because it looks like the same kind of thing. So like if you're using this suddenly, who hates writing long stuff? Like it's like a pain in the neck. That's it. That's finished. That problem is disappeared, gone. I haven't got time to show you the training. If you want to blow people's mind, go play with this. You take your camera, you shoot it like this. It will take 360 pictures of you. It will then create an avatar video, and you can text it, and it will talk for you And if we haven't got time, but I've got a video that I can show you where we've done this, and it blew, like most people in the room were like, that can't be AI. And it's just, so now you could have a welcome video on your website that you change, update, product pages, then it's you. Guess what? You finally cloned you. Right? You know the whole thing of, oh, if only there's more of me, I could clone me. Well, you can now. This is like, now this is out, and it's epically good. If you want to blow people's mind, go have some fun with that one. That one's brilliant. If any of you who does Zoom calls, Yeah, and if you do any kind of online Zoom calls, Fathom's brilliant. Not only does it record the Zoom call, it'll take all the notes, turn it into action plans, email everybody who is on the Zoom call afterwards, and send them links to the video recording if they want to go back and watch it. So you get off the Zoom call, and that all happens, and you don't have to send anything. Cool. So that's over time. By the way, this is my final one, and then I'm done. So if you just want to find out more and stay up to date with AI, go subscribe to this tool report. It gives you about five minutes a day, and it keeps you up to date with what's happening with everything in AI, because it's moving so fast. Whatever I tell you now will probably be redundant in 6 weeks. So, but some of these tools are mind-blowing. You can boost your own productivity and the people around you. Okay, cool. Very quickly, who feels they've got value in the last half an hour? Say yes? Cool, turn to the one person, share the one thing you took out of this presentation very quickly. What's one thing you took away? Turn to the person next to you quickly.